Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Cicero Planning Board meeting. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Snyder.
United States of America. To the republic.
Thank you. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from September 21st. Any questions or comments? Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to be approved as printed.
For the second,
I'll second.
Mr. Duval,
Yes.
Mr. Abbey,
Yes.
Mr. Snyder,
Yes.
Mrs. Hogan,
Yes,
and I vote yes. Minutes have been approved. Now we'll open the meeting to public comment. If there's anybody here that would like to address the board on any active application, you're welcome to come up now. Anybody? Are you thinking about it? No, this is for public comment on any, yeah. Given nobody's approached, we will close the public input and move on to the first agenda item. And this is for Richard and Amy, Virginia, at property at 6458 East Taft Road to propose lawn care. Now you're welcome to come up. Good evening. The record, can you introduce yourselves?
I'm Richard, Virginia. I'm the person trying to get site plan approval.
Mark Budash, 19 Naylor Circle, Baldwinsville, New York. I'm their engineer.
You want to go through the modifications?
So you have a set of plans in there that address the most recent comments. We brought in a plan, we added a handicap spot next to the existing garage and house to incorporate handicap needs. We've also, I don't think there's really any other modification yet at the light location. Amy provided a sign layout and a sign size to the signage. We also just provided a sample of the solar wall pack lights that were going to be used over the doors and the garage doors. The plan shows a parking layout with a number of spaces needed and a dimension for the parking spot. We've shown all of the landscaping, proposed landscaping, and then some changes to the drainage along the east side of the property. We create a swale. We direct the stormwater to the back of the property where it normally flows today.
All right, we'll open up the questions. Mr. Duval.
Yes, the parking area. There's an existing driveway, right?
That's all correct, yeah.
Okay, and all of the new parking, that's run across?
Yep, 8 inches of gravel, front across, compacted.
Okay. And the sign is a sign on the building, correct? So no standalone sign, okay.
Can you give your
Yes.
name, please?
hi, I'm Amy, Virginia, also applicant. In the packet, on the right or the front of the building, it shows the sign where the location is. The first page is the sign, but then inside it shows that it's between the two overhead doors. If you
Okay.
look further into the
Yeah,
plan.
I did see that.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Mr. Abbey?
I'm pretty good at this point, but whereabouts in Taft Road is? Whereabouts in Taft Road are you doing this?
Right near the northern boulevard, probably quarter mile to a half mile down the road from northern boulevard.
Past Northern Boulevard.
Correct,
Okay, before the curve,
correct.
you know, they give us an address, but we don't know where that relates to really. Okay, I'm all set for now.
Mr. Snyder?
I can't see where the handicap
parking spot is? Can you point that out for me?
Yeah, it's right in front of the existing garage right there. You can see it. This one doesn't show it. The new plan that I provided here shows the spot. If you don't, I can.
Okay, so
We added the handicap spot right there on the existing asphalt driveway.
now you normally don't have people coming to your facility?
No customers. No, it's just employees that work with the company.
Okay, since you have the handicap spot on the pavement, I think that's fine. I would, because we at least have tried to keep the handicap spots on pavement. Even if it is one of your employees that would be able to park there, we like to have them not have to deal with stone, so,
I
okay.
replaced it on the asphalt, existing asphalt. And it's as close to the building as you can be.
Yeah, I mean, you very nicely mark out the parking spots, but that's a bunch of crap because on gravel, it's not gonna last very long.
Striping it, that's
No.
their parking spots that are needed space wise.
Now, based on how many employees do you expect to have?
Well, there's 8 and, you're there for an hour. And then there's 2 the rest of the day. And then there's 8 there for about an hour at the end of the day.
Just to pick up the truck.
Yeah, you swap the trucks and go.
Well, I mean, they drive their car to your facility, then get out of their car and get in one of your trucks. All right, so you've got plenty for expansion. Okay, I'm done.
Mrs. Hogan?
Yeah, so just looking at the property site, just to confirm, are all these existing trees, are they preserved? Are they gonna be left? So nothing has to be knocked down to have this built, okay. And then my other question was, the lighting in terms of on the building. How, are they like on timers? Are they on the whole time? I guess I'm just concerned about the lighting being sufficient for when the employees are coming and going, leaving. So I'm assuming it's gonna be very early, sometimes maybe before it's light out, when they get started. So I guess I'm just wondering about the lighting in terms of out of it. I see that you have like the solar wall pack. Is that inside or outside?
They're all solar wall packs that are on the outside of the building.
Okay.
You have one over the pedestrian access points, 2 pedestrian, then you got 2 on both sides of the garage doors.
Okay,
They're motion activated. So,
okay,
when you walk up, they come on.
okay. And then did you say most of the trucks are gonna be parked on the inside? Or are they just driving in to get what they need and then driving out?
They don't actually drive in. You bring the stuff right to the door and then you load up there.
Load up there,
But
okay,
trucks sit there during the day in the work season. Then in the winter, when there's nothing in the building, I want to put them inside. I don't want them to get wear and tear
right,
from the weather, so.
The trucks will park on those spots that you have outlined on the outside of there.
right. So in your opinion, there is sufficient lighting in terms of doing that work? So if it's in the morning, early before there's light, there's sufficient lighting wherever they're gonna be walking and getting what they need to and then loading into there?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay,
Most of the loading isn't done in the morning. It's done in the afternoon.
okay. So
you-
it wouldn't
you
be
come
like in
back,
the
you
evening,
load
like
up.
dark time?
Right, no,
Okay.
no, yeah, I can't
Okay.
get guys to work that late.
Okay. Okay, and then these are the check marks, the colors, and then it'll look something like,
Top one, I believe.
Yeah, that's it, similar to what it will look like. yes.
okay,
They couldn't give me the exact rendering
yeah,
just because it's turned a different way.
okay. Did you end up going with windows on it? I know that originally you had said no.
No, we're not
Okay,
gonna do
so that-
windows. We
okay.
just went with bigger doors.
Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Mark, have you had a chance to review the lighting? Are you,
Yes, I guess it's not ideal. We would like to get a dark sky compliant light with a full cutoff type fixture, typically. But these are just kind of small solar wall pack, so I guess I'll leave it up to the board as to whether or not they feel that's acceptable.
so normally we require the cutoffs.
Yeah.
And not normally, always. Are you able to comply with that?
I don't even know what it is.
But basically, the type of light you have here, you can see the fixture, right? You know, what's lighting up.
Okay.
You know, if you see the newer LED type lights, you know, they're flush.
Oh, so
with the
they cover
fixture.
The actual light and the light comes down.
The light comes down as opposed to
So you're not getting
creating
reflective light out
glare
onto the street.
and
I could definitely
issues
do
with
that.
that, so.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. I just went with something that I thought looked nice. So,
Understood, yeah.
yeah, but I can definitely change that.
But quite honestly, you'll be happier with something like that because these are just going to create glare and it's going to be difficult for you to.
Okay,
see.
yeah, that's not a problem. That'll be easily changed.
So why don't we throw that? Just consist of a full cutoff type fixture.
That's the only other thing I had. Steve, anything?
Yes, the new building is going to be located a distance that exceeds the minimum requirement from the existing hydrant that's located on East Ave Road. So another hydrant is going to be required to get closer to this building.
We're gonna need at a hydrant. How do you want to handle that?
Well, you could do it as a condition and make it a condition to be installed before the issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
So the building's actually 428 feet away from the existing hydrant. That's down the road. The next one is 1,000 feet in the opposite. So that's to the east, towards Northern Boulevard. Usually 10 state standards are like 350 to 600 spacing between hydrants, and I just wasn't sure, you know, why we want to put a hydrant in for somebody just putting a pole barn in. I mean, it really is a pole barn. Where the existing building that's already there, that's run through that hydrant. It's an added cost to the site. You have to put in a hydrant.
I understand. Is that up to us?
Well, so the fire code requires it for new buildings being constructed or moved into the jurisdiction.
Right.
The 600-foot requirements for a residential type use building, that's what this used to be a residence. Now it's being converted to commercial use. I understand, you know, the use of this building, but it may not always be used this way. Is it an industrial district? You know, now's our opportunity to meet current requirements when a new building's being erected.
Do we have leeway? Or you want me to ask Neil?
You might want to hear from the fire department. Well, there's a representative here. But is there leeway? If I use this discretion, it would not comply with
Say that
fire
again?
code. If I use discretion to permit this, it would not comply with fire code. And we want to be consistent.
We gotta comply.
Yeah.
Neil, any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, my thought is this would not be a place to use a lot of discretion or leeway. I mean, the code is what it is. And it's there for a purpose. It's safety.
Paul, do you have any comments on this?
Good evening. I'm Paul Leonards from the North Syracuse Fire Department. I don't believe that either of the two issues that we addressed in our earlier in the sketch drawing of this process have been addressed. The hydrant is in excess of 400 feet, and accessibility to the building is also a question for the fire department. With an engineer here, he may be able to provide us with stamped or some type of agreed to that a typical residential driveway will not support fire apparatus. So the code says that the fire department access has to be capable of supporting 75,000 pounds. So that typical residential driveway will not support that. And I don't know if 8 inches of run of crush, I'm assuming 8 inches of run of crush does, but I don't know that for a fact. That's why he's here. So those are our two concerns. I understand the plight of a small business and feel for them. But I don't know how to get around. It's too far off the road for us to access it in the event of snow and their building's on fire. We'd be dragging hoses through 100 feet of field to get to their building. because we couldn't risk putting our fire truck on their residential driveway if, unless of course they agreed to improve it to make it capable of supporting fire apparatus.
A light commercial driveway by New York State DOT standards is 4-inch, asphalt, HMA, asphalt on top of 8 inches of subbase. I cannot speak to what the thickness of the existing driveway is. It's something that we would either have to core, or by the time you rip it out, that's when you're gonna tell what the thickness of the existing driveway is. Their concern is
Oh, thank you.
it's another price, cost that they'd have to do, but if there's ever a fire, the 8-inch gravel will support a fire truck, and if the driveway gets broken up during a fire, I feel like it's the least of my client's worries that, if the fire truck breaks up their driveway, then they're gonna replace it after the fact, instead of having to go rip out a whole driveway of existing asphalt to replace it almost in kind. I just don't know what the subbase is right now, without doing cores. Just another added cost that they would have to incur if the board so chooses.
I'm not even sure how the driveway actually butts to the basement, butts right to the foundation, touches it. So
You're not sure what?
I'm just not, I wouldn't even, because the driveway actually touches the foundation of the house, butts right to it. I wasn't sure how you would even rip out the driveway without possibly damaging the foundation. But I mean, I'm sure there's somebody who knows. Okay.
That's not a word.
But the 8-inch gravel with the modified paper would support the truck anyway, which the whole lot's going to be.
Do you concur, Mark?
I would agree with what's being said, yes.
So what about the driveway? If it's gonna get crushed up a little bit, but if it's gonna interfere with fire department safely accessing the building in the event of an
Yeah,
emergency?
so, as their engineer indicated, we don't know what's there. So whether it's adequate to support a fire truck or not, it's not something we can determine without, again, doing a coring and determining what's there. They've proposed that, if there was damage to the driveway, it wouldn't be an issue with them. That doesn't necessarily answer as to whether or not the fire department would be willing to access it. And the fire department would have to speak to that.
Neil, thoughts?
They can't adequately say for sure that they would support fire apparatus, and say it won't for sure. They have to do more studies. And are you offering a city, for example, do we have to do to actually demonstrate whether or not it will support fire apparatus?
It's an option, I guess. I'd probably go to excavate a corner of it to, figure out what exactly it is. But I'm not sure what even if an asphalt driveway, and I'm assuming it's a residential pipe thickness, it's gotta be probably 3 to 4 inches of existing asphalt right now. And I guess I don't understand how that doesn't, yes, you might break it apart with trucks, he's gonna have trucks going across it. I just don't understand how, I guess I've never even heard of this type of action on an existing asphalt driveway, but if that's what you have to do for the board, then.
Well, this is kind of a unique situation, right, where you got a residential driveway and you got a commercial use far back. I'm only one member, but I'm gonna want the fire hydrant, as we talked about, and I'm gonna want the fire department happy with access, safe access. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I mean,
I totally understand your position in the small business, and that pulls at my heart a little bit. But I think we gotta err towards public safety.
yeah, I mean, the coring of the driveway, I don't see where that's a big deal. I had to do it myself in my own driveway. And I did it with my air compressor and an air chisel. And I chunked the 4-inch square piece. And then with a little garden shovel, I dug out the gravel to prove how thick the gravel was. So I think, you know, if you did that, you know, in right next to or right in the handicap spot, right at the edge of the handicap spot, then it's not a big deal to replace it either. That's a bag of asphalt to, if it's the right material.
Anybody else?
Would we know for sure once you did that, if you would know? Do you know what I mean? Like, once you know that, do you think that you would know?
If there's,
Would that be
yeah,
enough
If I could, if
to
I
know?
could show that there's a 4 inches of asphalt on an 8-inch base, then I will 100% be sure that
Okay,
that's standard for a commercial driveway, a light commercial driveway, so.
okay. So it would be enough to
can't
know.
believe we would go any
Yeah.
further, thicker than,
Okay.
What's standard for residential, do you know?
I believe it's 2 or 3 inches on 8 inches of subdivision.
So as far as the fire hydrant, I think I would be a little bit concerned for you guys as a small business too, in terms of like insurance. So if you ever did have a fire, I don't know if they would do some kind of an investigation and then find out that you weren't up to code as well. So I think that this might be something that would protect you guys as well, because I know that you're seeing it as a cost just to you guys. And I certainly don't like making more costs for small business in our town. But I would be concerned for you guys too, in terms of protection, if you weren't going according to code. I think that would be my concern, like that it would fall back on you, like if there was ever a fire, that you wouldn't be protected.
Okay. So these are the things, the driveway and the hydrant. And everything else.
Would we be able to get conditional approval of the site plan with those two outstanding?
No.
So I have to replace the hydrant prior.
No,
we
no.
can't Show that there's a hydrant going in.
All right. Well, time is.
I mean, as long as we show it on the site plan and then we can work with Aqua
yes,
and the town and the fire department to install that.
Correct.
As long as it's shown on the plan, we can get approval.
yes.
All right, I'll dig that driveway up tomorrow. Cause December is when I have to do all this stuff.
Yeah, so if you can get everything to us, you know, the Wednesday before the next meeting, we'll expedite on this end.
Yeah, we'll get stuff ready for you next week. I think we can delay this another month.
I understand.
Is there any other comments that we need to address? I know there was one I saw on the engineering, the last engineering one regarding the distance between the parts. I don't want to hung up on something there.
Did I, Neil and Mark, did I ask you to for?
Yeah, there's this new plan. It's fine. It's, the drive file is still a little, narrow, but it's not public use. I mean, it's just theirs and they have some extra length and width in there anyhow. So, I'm satisfied with what they've got.
So yes,
So I think too, if you could find another cut sheet for a light fixture, that would be good, just so we have that on record.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I like your colors you picked.
When they find your insurance company wouldn't approve it.
I know, that's
And
what
then
I
I
would be
didn't
nervous
care.
about.
Hmm.
them. I know.
No, mine, you know, I had to say when I had my house.
Oh, I had, when I needed an insurance, company, I had this down to review. They did so many investigations to try and not pay me.
So we'll move on to the next agenda item. This is for a proposed Royal Car Wash at the corner of Route 11 and Bear Road. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Welcome. Just want to make one point though, that Royal Car Wash has merged with Go Car Wash. So that it will have Go Car Wash branding on there, but it's still the obviously the same people from Royal Car Wash, and the building's gonna look exactly the same. Is that just the lettering for Royal Car Wash is gonna say Go Car Wash, but just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware of that one. So We're here, looking at a site, right now, we're just a conceptual. phase.
Can you give your name, please? for-
Oh, yep, sorry, I'm David Cox with Pastoral Associates, civil engineer for the project. And I also have with me, Alex, from Royal Wash Development. Yep. So, the property is, just south of Copper Top, Tavern. It's, 901 North Main Street, 903 North Main Street, 5643 Bear Road, and 5647 Bear Road. So in that proposed green area and development area, there's 4 separate properties. There's 4 separate buildings on there. So the plan would be to demolish all those buildings. Right now, the site is essentially currently all paved. There's very little grass on the property. So we would be tearing up a lot of that asphalt, reintroducing grass, especially along Route 11 and Bear Road, giving a little better streetscape on there, adding some trees and things like that on there. And there's also currently 3 curb cuts for the 4 properties, and we would be reducing that down to just 2 curb cuts. So we'd be closing one of the curb cuts as well. So the 2 access points, one off of Route 11. We did talk to New York State DOT, and they did say that they would be looking to change that curb cut from a full access to a right in, right out. So that's what we have shown on this plan here. So anyone would only be able to enter the property heading south on Route 11 to use that access point. And if they were to exit onto Route 11, they would have to be taking a right out and heading south. And then if they come into the property from that side, there's vacuum stalls right there that they could get their car vacuumed before they went through the car wash, or they could continue past those, loop down around the bottom, and then go through the stacking lanes here. There's 3 lanes of stacking. Here's the pay kiosk terminals. The majority of people that use it are FastPass members. So they have an RFID sticker, so they pull up, the gate automatically opens, and they pull around through, but they can use cash or credit as well if they're not a member. And then they loop around. It is a heated concrete driveway or concrete pavement section here. And then they enter the car wash tunnel, and then they exit, and then they could either loop back around to vacuum their cars and do the right out onto Route 11, or exit directly out onto Bear Road are the options that they would have. And then we also have an emergency bypass lane over here on the west side of the property. That's just if the power goes out or there's some issue in the wash that shuts the wash down. We have a way to get people out of the queue lanes and out of the property there. So we have had some discussions with the county DOT in there. Their initial reaction was we're thinking about restricting this access point further to maybe not allow left turns, or they also mentioned right in, right out. So we're still in negotiations there. The problem when you start restricting this one is if you're heading on Bear Road and you're heading east, if you make it a right in, right out, you wouldn't be able to take a left into the property. So then the person would, come up to the light, they would head north on Route 11, and then they still can't make a left into the property. So then they're going to be pulling into businesses to try to turn around and things like that. So that's obviously one issue. Also, if they're not allowed to make a left out, someone wanting to head north on Route 11, they can't head north on Route 11 because this, only allows them to go south. And then, so if they could only take a right out of here, most likely they would probably go through Copper Top Tavern and loop around to head north. So not ideal there is either. So we're still in negotiations about this entrance and exactly how that looks, but we're still at concept level. So this is when we want to hash those things out and figure out those things. So car washes, as far as traffic is concerned, they rely on bypass traffic, similar to a gas station, that they need cars already out on the road going to a destination to pull in, get their car washed or get their, car filled up with gas and then continue on their way. A car wash is not a destination. So that's why we like to locate them at busy intersections or on busy roads, because we need that bypass traffic of cars just pulling in and then pulling back out onto the road. So it's not a huge traffic generator, like a grocery store or, some other destination that actually increases trip generation. The car wash is just relying on traffic already on the road to pull in and pull out and continue on their way to work or to the grocery store or wherever, whatever destination they're going to. As far as sanitary sewer capacity, we did do our capacity report, sent that. Kate did get back to us with a couple comments, but there's two different actually options for us to tie into for sanitary sewer. And both of them are relatively short stretches to get to the interceptor. So there's not sanitary sewer capacity problems here. The site is under an acre, so we don't have to do the typical green infrastructure or anything like that. And we are reducing the amount of impervious. So since we're reducing the amount of impervious surface on the site, we are reducing peak runoff rates as well. So we meet the pre-verse post requirements there. Yeah, I've stopped at the car wash that's being built at 5813. The building's up, we got pavement in, a lot of landscaping's in. It's pretty darn close to being able to probably in the next month or so. Yeah. Probably
Okay.
next month that'll be open.
Coming quick.
Yeah, coming around quick. So it looks really great. Really dressed up the sidewalk and the curb along the front of the property. That the sidewalk came out really good. Yeah, we're excited to get that one underway and then start working on this one. But yeah, we wanted to come before you guys, get some, feedback so we can really take those comments before we get into the full-blown design of the project.
Great, thank you. Mr. Duval?
Yes, this is at Bear Road and Route 11, correct?
Yes.
And currently there's a smoke shop there
Yes.
and there's a house.
There's a Syracuse window trim or something like that.
There's 4 structures?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
4 buildings.
Okay, so those will go away
All go away.
and the car wash will be built.
Correct.
Okay. And then you said right in, right out.
For sure on Route 11, that's definitely gonna be a right in, right out. The entrance on Bear Road,
There's a question.
Yeah, there's still a question. We're negotiating and talking with the county.
Okay, that's all I have for right
Hmm.
now.
Mr. Abbey?
Well, I think Cicero has too many smoke shops and tattoo parlors anyway. That's a plus.
You agree?
Based on this design here, I would like to see much more plantings along Route 11 and Bear Road. Could be low, of course, but
Chuck, can you grab your mic and move it a little
Sorry.
closer, please?
it looks like they're just grass at this point.
Yeah, so that is an older plan. We didn't get, but this plan shows, there is
Oh,
much
okay.
more landscaping. We're gonna have, trees, pretty much all the grass areas is gonna have some shrubs and greenery and things like that. So yeah, this shows just a lot more trees and shrubs along Route 11 and also some along Bear Road and then filling in some of these islands as well.
Okay, it looks like what I just sketched in.
Yeah.
And you say the appearance would be just like the Royal Car Wash,
Yep, exactly.
and
Just
which
the
is
sign will be different. That's it. Everything else is exactly the same.
just like the one over in Liverpool too.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see how this progresses. This traffic is the biggest thing probably. Thank you.
Mr. Snyder?
Well, I'm really conflicted, because the units that you're going to tear down to build this facility, I give you an amen for that because it's kind of the entrance to our area and they look like something I don't like to have. But at the other hand, first of all, the unit you're building is super. They're doing a great job. I love the flow. I have a problem with the flow on this one, but I don't have a solution for it because I was quite sure they were gonna, state was gonna say right in, right out. Cause otherwise you're trying to go across 3 lanes or sometimes 4 lanes of traffic on the Route 11 side. On the Bear Road side, I would like to hold my opinion until we find out what the county's gonna let you do there. I know we've had some situations where the distance from the corner caused people to have a real problem trying to come up with a solution so the project would work. I think if they require that exit on the Bear Road, first of all, to be right in, right out only, and they don't approve it where it is, you can't go any further west than where you are now. And the only way to do that, because I like to think outside the box, is if they needed it to be further away from the corner, then I'd be thinking about getting a piece of that land that is the Copper Tops east side of their driveway on Bear Road, because then you could actually have a little kick to the west to in fact have that exit from your property be further down from the corner if that becomes a problem. I mean, we know everything else works except your one on Route 31 has got plenty of place to put snow. Used to be involved with snow. Now that I'm an old guy, I just sit in my apartment and watch people move it. But I was responsible for moving a lot of it. And I don't see a lot of location on this site to put snow. So are you planning then therefore to plow and remove all your snow from the site?
I can take that one, but and you know, we operated 14 sites before we partnered with Go. And a lot of the during those heavy snow seasons, we would bring in people to come remove the snow from the site. So we pile it up in the vacuum areas and then bring them in to get them out so that we could open up the vacuum stalls again.
I mean, normally I would guess, is there a period of time, maybe a couple of months, where you guys don't operate at all because, you know, you're Syracuse and it's central New York and there's snow? I mean,
The winter season is actually the busy.
The busy time.
is it really?
For the car wash.
Yeah, I think the only time they really close down is when it gets down into the single digits. Sometimes they need to close because with the doors open, you have to worry about freezing pipes and things like that. But besides that, besides those single digits, usually they don't need to close down at all.
Right, well, I'd just sure like to see a response from the count, because I take it Bear Road is a county road.
Yep.
I'd like to see a written response for what they will accept for that exit on the Bear Road. Other than that, it looks good.
Mrs. Hogan.
Yes, I said more trees too, so I'm glad that you have that on there. And I actually disagree. I think it has to be trees and not shrubs, especially because of this area. It's making me really sad with all the trees that are dying. So I'm going to be pushing more for trees, even over shrubs, and even native trees, which I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they're the ones that are actually going to stay and not die and survive. So if you could look into that and putting in specifically more native trees in your area, I am like so ready for that corner to be changed. So I'm definitely rooting for this to work, but I am concerned as well about the traffic. And again, like Don said, I'm not really sure what the solution is, because I agree with you that would cause even more problems if no one could get in coming from the Bear Road side. So I agree with you that would cause more problems, because then they might even pull into like the Dunkin' Donuts and then try to cross. And then, you know, so I can see that causing all kinds of problems if they can't have a way of getting in. I don't know if maybe making it like a little wider so that I don't know what the solution is. Hopefully that they can come up with something, because I am like rooting for this to work, because I want that corner to change desperately. I've always hated it. So I think that was, oh, the sign. So not, there's signs on the building, and then is this like the sign, would that be somewhere located as well?
Yep.
Like, is it right on the corner here?
Here in the
Okay,
corner, be the full amount of time.
Yeah, that's not gonna meet setbacks. It's gotta be at least 20 feet from
Yeah.
the road right away. So you probably are gonna have to relocate that back into that green island.
so yeah, the sign, I was concerned about where that would go. And then, oh, is there any, I'm not sure about your current stores. Is there any kind of like store or vending or any other sales, or is it just car wash and
Just car wash.
vacuums? Okay. And then in terms of like lighting and hours of operation, is that already kind of decided or?
Yeah, so the standard hours are 7 AM to 9 PM.
Okay.
They do on Sundays, sometimes shrink that to maybe 8 to 8 or things like that. And then sometimes, you know, if it's colder or rainy, you know, they will reduce it, but that's kind of the max. Is the earliest they will open is 7, and the latest is they open is 9 PM.
Okay. And there's, it looks like, so the lighting would be similar to this in terms of very
Dark.
well lit and everything with the vacuums and everything.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, with people getting out of their cars,
Right.
Especially if they're getting out at night, you want to make sure that it's
Right.
people feel safe, and it's all dark sky compliant LED lighting.
Okay, that's up for now. Thank you.
Thank you. So I agree with a lot of what's been said in the facility that you're building is beautiful. You obviously take a lot of pride in the projects that you put together, so we appreciate that. And getting this corner cleaned up is a terrific thing, and there's traffic issues. And I also agree that, you know, if you can't do the left out on Bear Road, it may create more issues with people driving around, and so we'll see how that plays out. So it looks like to me, there's 32 vacuums at this site.
No, not that.
Is there one on each side of the, 20?
2022, maybe.
You
Yeah.
need that many?
So that, I mean, that's one of the biggest things that our customers always ask us for is more vacuum. So, and every project we try to put in as many as we can, as many as we can put in.
Here's what I'm thinking, you know, the building's beautiful. The vacuums, not so much, right? I didn't see them in this one, but I remember them from the other site that they weren't really
Pretty
pretty.
blue.
And it's right on Route 11. I don't know if you can swap things around, get the building up front, or if you did one less row of vacuums and created more green space. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of the things we have done on some of the other projects is, planning board wasn't crazy about the blue vacuums, so we, made them black. So that they don't
Just kinda
stand out
blend
as
in.
much, they kind of blend in and they're not as noticeable. That is something we have done in other locations.
I'd like to see something done with that.
Okay.
Particularly with the Route 11 exposure, you know, the building's so pretty and it's gonna be sitting behind those vacuums.
Yeah, Mark, I think you bring up a great point. I mean, and this goes to some of the things that Mr. Snyder brought up, you know, there is very little green space on this site left, and I know it may be a reduction in what's there currently, but, you know, you have minimal setbacks from the right of way to where the pavement edges are. And, you know, I haven't seen the revised landscaping plan, but I can't imagine they're fitting the landscaping in on their property because, I mean, there's only a few feet there. And I don't think the color of the vacuums is going to make too much of a difference. I think the board needs to consider the aesthetics of that significantly. And, you know, removing that row of vacuums would make a difference relative to snow storage and certainly the aesthetics and the ability to landscape this.
So if you can take those comments into consideration.
Is there enough space, Mark, for the lollipop sign on the corner? With the way the state owns that property?
I mean, it's not between, oh, well. Yeah, I mean, you might be able to, I mean, if you get rid of that section of parking, then you might be able to get it more towards the road frontage. I mean, the way it is now, it would have to be in the green area, that little island of green that you have there. In order to comply with the setbacks, it needs to be 20 feet from the road right lines. I do think the board should consider whether it's appropriate to have those vacuums right along Route 11.
Yeah, that was my point. And Mr. Snyder had mentioned, I don't know if it's a possibility, but it might be worth your time to have a conversation with Copper Top. If you could continue out this way and share their driveway, the state's going to be much more amicable with working on a left out there. Now we have one entrance and exit for both facilities. I don't know if you'll have success, but it might be worth your effort to chat with them about that.
Yeah, we can certainly, reach out to them. It doesn't, they don't really gain anything, from that, you know, I thought.
Well, how quickly do you pump out the vehicles from this car wash?
That's true.
I mean, really,
Good point.
that's a legitimate question. I mean, how quickly do the vehicles come?
How many
out?
cars go in
So
the,
you can, I mean, if it's loaded and everything's going, about every 25 seconds, 30 seconds.
Yeah, so,
we throw them out?
well, the issue is, I mean, I think we all know, I mean, I use this intersection frequently. I probably some of the board members do. But even under normal conditions, and not peak times or anything like that, the queue in that is going on Bear Road is from that stoplight coming from 11 is going to go back to the driveway. And that's a long signal timing through that. And if that's queued up back to that, you know, I think you need to look at this. And if the county doesn't ask you to do, I'll be surprised. You know, looking at the length of the signal cycle there, you've got room for two vehicles. If one of them is basically, you've got room for two vehicles to stack once someone wants to take a left out of that Bear Road exit. And if, and there's going to be a longer time than 50 seconds, it will be well over a minute. And you're now then having to shut down your operation. And I can see that happen on a regular basis because again, it's not at all uncommon for that queue to come all the way back to there. And if you're at a peak time or, you know, and again, yeah, winter, I mean, we all know how car washes look when they're being used and there's a lot of vehicles there. So, you know, I think that's got to be looked at very closely. And if it's right in, right out, I don't know if it works because now you're encouraging essentially, you know, bad traffic. You know, either people are going to take the left out when they aren't supposed to. We all see that happen, or they're going to start going all over the place, turning through Copper Top, turning around in the school driveway, et cetera, to try and get going in the direction they want to go.
Well, Mark, when you come out of that Route 11, you're in a right turn lane. So if I don't want to turn right onto Bear Road, I've got to get over one lane,
Yeah,
which means I'm going to stop.
I know.
And You're
So
right. If there's a time when there are cars coming out every minute, say not 25 seconds, let's say a minute.
I just think this is the intensity of this operation at this location, you know, is questionable.
Yeah, I think I'd park my car there by the smoke shop and go through a number of cycles with that light at different times during the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's agrees it would like to see something other than what's there.
Yep.
But this is a pretty intense operation to be putting at this location with the access.
That many cars coming
such as
through,
this.
yeah.
So, this is our 25th location. We have sites all over Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, and you know, this is not an uncommon scenario here on the corner. So it's nothing we haven't seen before, and working with the DOT,
to make sure that things work smoothly and operate smoothly. But we look at all that traffic stuff, the DOT, needs to see that data, and review all that. So that's all part of the process that you go through when you do these.
So maybe when you come back, you can bring us a picture of a current one that looks like this, so you could help us understand it a little better, where it's currently being successful.
Traffic wise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like where it looks
If you could
like this.
provide similar locations, maybe, that we could look at.
We actually have one similar to this in Rochester that was at one time one of the highest volume car washes that we own. And like Dave said, a lot of the traffic is commuter, and they just find the time to go when it fits their traffic pattern.
Yeah,
correctly.
I get that, but it's getting them in and getting them out, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
When they pull out, there's only 2 cars that can stack there, according, as Mark
Yeah.
said, right?
And I'll show you when we come back, it's the same exit lane. And the car wash operation does, like, there's a sensor right on that concrete pad that shuts the operation down if a car sits there and the car on the conveyor is so too close, the whole operation stops.
Yeah, and I understand. And then that starts backing up into your queuing area and, and again, when these car washes get happen, they get happen. We've all seen Delta Sonic and all those places that, it's just backed up if it's popular.
I'm not an engineer by any means, but I wonder if it's almost better to load this way, come out, and then you have a full lane of stacking so that they can exit. But, I think everybody agrees that it would be nice to clean up this neighborhood, that's corner. And if we can make this work, working with you for your customers and for the traffic in the area, then I'm for it.
Yeah, if you make sure you show us a situation with the lane count that we have here, because that's what this was 2 lanes on each road. I don't think it's a big deal, but we're talking about 3 and 4 lanes, and 6 lanes in total. That it makes a lot of difference, and that's why I think watching the light sequence is going to be very educational for you guys.
Does a pass at this one give you access to this one too?
To all of them.
That's
Is
all
this
I
the-
have.
Excuse me, is this the minimum length of the building has to be?
It's our standard length. Yeah.
Is it? Okay, I'm just thinking of stacking when they go on the Bear Road after they, come out of the building.
Yeah, so the length, helps dictate the
wash package.
water package and what you can actually get through. If you had a really short car wash, it slows down traffic. You can't get as many cars through, and then you would have a backup on the entering side. So there's a definite balance, and then all the different, packages, the undercarriage spray, all those different packages, you need more length for the different types of amenities you provide for the car wash.
Steve?
Nothing additional at this time. I guess we'll wait till it comes back and see what changes.
All set.
Mark, anything else?
No, I think the board's touched on the issues and I've brought up some of my thoughts. Guess I would hold off on doing a detailed review on this until we get additional information on the what the county is going to allow relative to access and whatever studies they do to back
That makes sense.
that up. And also maybe if any modifications it might be making to address some of the aesthetic issues that have been brought up.
Thank you. Anything else from you folks?
No, so the next time we come back, we'll have detailed site plans, landscaping plans, count correspondence from the New York State DOT, county DOT. We have a lot better package.
Great. All right, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
you.
How can I be?
The last agenda item is for a proposed photovoltaic solar park at Mud Mill Road. Good evening, gentlemen. Hi, Dave Byrne with Renew Energy. We're certified by New York State as a Hudson-known small business. And we work on solar projects all across New York State. Okay. We work on solar projects across New York State. And I wanted to introduce the other members of our team here.
Good evening, Steve D'Arcangelo with Klepper, Hahn and Hyatt.
Dan Harwood, the owner of the property we're going to be talking about.
Mike Harwood, his son.
Also, we're representing Galehead Development LLC. So they're a solar project developer. We work for them. And the special purpose entity that's been established for this proposed project is Bartell South PV1 LLC. So I just wanted to clarify all the different players here. I'm Renew Energy. We work for Galehead. We're working with Steve from Klepper, Hahn and Hyatt out of Syracuse. Any questions on that? Okay. So we submitted a package to the town for a site plan application for this proposed 4.2 megawatt AC solar array. And we believe that at this point, the application was accepted because we also submitted a fee, which was accepted by the town. So I'm just going to give a quick overview. This is again, a 4.2 megawatt AC, and we're going to refer to it sized as 4.2 megawatts AC throughout to be consistent. There's different ways of sizing solar arrays. We're going to use that. We're proposing it on a approximately 55 acre lot on Mud Mill Road, and that's east of Route 81. Is the board aware of that location? Okay. And, you know, we believe this will be a good proposed project for the town because number one, it's a community solar array. Is the board familiar with the structure of those solar arrays? From what perspective? So the way it works is it's a community solar array that benefits local citizens because they can take advantage of reduced electricity rates. So customers of the solar from the utility. Yep. So they subscribe to the community solar project as off takers, and then they get a reduction in their annual bill. Okay. And it's delivered to them by grid? Yes. Yes. Through back end accounting through the utility company. So we also believe that this project is compliant with your solar law, which we've reviewed extensively, and we believe that we can achieve, you know, a reduction in emissions in the town without affecting the quality of life for local residents, and also while complying with the town code. So we've submitted at this point a completed survey, wetlands delineation. So there are wetlands on the site, both DEC and Army Corps wetlands, and we hired a biologist out of Syracuse with the firm Delta. Are you familiar with Delta? Environmental scientists? Yeah, I've heard of them. Okay. Yeah, Steve Sheridan was working on this with us. We've submitted to SHPO, and we're working through that. We also submitted a decommissioning plan, an operations and maintenance plan per your town code requirements. We completed phase 1 ESA. We submitted an EAF,
We also provided a copy of the National Grid Caesar study dated February 2021. So that's confirmation from the utility side that this project is feasible from an interconnection standpoint. Does that make sense? So that's a whole nother process that this project has to complete in order to come to fruition. It takes over a year to coordinate with the utility company. We provided a copy, a redacted copy of the lease option, and then also electrical drawings and spec sheets. So that I just wanted to bring the board up to speed on what we've submitted. I know it's a lot of information. We delivered hard copies and also a digital submission. So I think I'll stop there and see if the board would like us to go through the site itself, or if you have any questions at this point.
Why don't you go through the site?
Okay.
Want to use that?
Oh, yeah, thanks. I'll refer to this map if that's okay. And
Sure.
then, if the board chooses to look in that direction as well.
If you want, I got a pointer, you can use that.
Okay, it looks a little blurry, but what does the board prefer?
I would rather the audience see it.
Okay, all right, we'll do that.
Here.
You. So you just press the middle button? I guess? Okay. Okay. So again, to orient the board, Route 81 is over here to the west. This is Mud Mill Road here. And this is the Harwood property, about 55 acres. There are utility poles here along Mud Mill Road, and we're proposing to interconnect here in the vicinity of an existing culvert. So there would be a pole lineup coming from that initial pole to the equipment pad in the northeast corner of the property. These poles are required by the utility company. They all house different pieces of equipment, and that's coordinated between the utility company and us. And at that point, after the poles, we would go underground. So we would be doing directional boring underneath these Army Corps wetlands. So for the board's purposes, we've assumed 100-foot setback even from these wetlands, even though these wetlands here to the west are the ones that have been designated as DEC wetlands, 100-foot buffer requirement. So we've taken a conservative approach here in laying out the array, and we believe that we can achieve a 4.2 megawatt AC system. The array would be constituted of fixed tilt racking. But I want to raise to the board's attention that depending on supply chain constraints and also market conditions, we may request down the road that we switch this to a single axis tracker array. Is the board familiar with that type of technology? Basically, a single axis tracker array allows for the array to track the sun throughout the sky during the course of a day. So if that's the east facing there, you have panels which are mounted on racking with motors, and it would be facing about 55 degrees towards the east in the morning, and then at noon it would be facing upwards like this, and then in the evening about 55 degrees to the west. Okay, so I just bring that up because at this point we're proposing a fixed tilt array, and based on market conditions and supply chain constraints, we may switch the technology, but we would still be below the 15-foot limit in terms of height. All right.
I'm curious, why would you not want the ones that move with the sun? Cost?
Honestly, the answer is just that we have limited, we're constrained by space here based on the wetlands and the buffer. And usually you can get more capacity with fixed tilt and you can tighten the array spacing and create more density. So, you know, these racks here would be closer to about 9 feet tall, and because they're shorter in height, you can compress the distances between the rows, the inner row spacing, without shading in position.
So just not enough efficiency difference with the ones that rotate with the sun.
Yeah, with the trackers, we would get less megawatts, but we get more kilowatt hours, more energy yield per kilowatt or per megawatt. So we'll have to run some more detailed calculations at a later date. But this is what we're leading with right now. The whole array would be enclosed by a 7-foot high fence per National Electric Code, and we would also maintain a 6-inch gap at the bottom of that fencing for wildlife purposes. This is what we call an ag-friendly fence, so it would, we feel, mesh more with the character of the community here and the surrounding farmland. We have done stormwater calculations, and we have 2 detention basins as proposed on the site plan. And then as our current plan stands, we will have some stockpiling of soils. These are the soils that are removed in order to install the access road. And we would stockpile that on site so that after the duration of the lease term, approximately 30 years, give or take, that soil could be spread back out onto the site. And the site would also at that point be reverted back to farming. So what we really like about community solar is that, you know, after the useful life of the solar array, the land has been given a chance to rest and recuperate. And, you know, that those soils can be more productive moving forward for farming. I'll stop there and just see if there's any questions or comments from the board.
Jim?
Okay, with this racking, how many panels are on a rack?
What we're proposing right now is 2 in portrait. So, you know, a panel is about 3.5 feet wide, and the rack would be at about 20 degrees. So you would have 1 panel and a second panel, so 2 in portrait. And it's about 3.5 feet per panel width.
How many total?
I don't know, Steve, if we have the exact number on the total, but
One of the drawings.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my.
Yeah, it's probably about somewhere in the range of 9,000 panels, give or take. Don't quote me on that, but we size it based on the AC capacity because that's what the utility grants approval towards. So all of our coordination with the utility company is based on the AC rating for the system.
And you mentioned boring. What does that entail?
So we would be going underground from the poles, the last pole here. And then in order to minimize disturbance to this wetland here, we would directional bore. So it's horizontal boring underneath the, basically it's a swale in this area.
Okay.
It's a drainage swale. Yeah.
The plan states 9,958 panels.
That's all I have right now.
I was, a couple of things I was curious about. Looks like there's maybe 2 storage batteries. Is that true?
No, we're not proposing batteries. What you might be referring to here are the equipment pads.
Okay,
And we have transformers there, so we're going to aggregate the combiner boxes will feed inverters, and the inverters will, depending upon the final technology we select, they'll either be located here on the equipment pad area or throughout the array. But the bottom line is that you'll have transformers on these equipment pads, and those step up the voltage so that we can interconnect to these power lines here at 13.2 kV. So no batteries proposed.
So whatever it produces, it sends on.
Yes, yep, it's back feeding into the grid and those, each of those units of energy will be credited towards the account that then would be applied to the subscribers to the array.
Of the panels area, say about how many acres are involved in that particular?
So in this fenced area here, we're at about 13.3 acres. But then, we're also going to view this access road area as well as the stormwater basins as being in the lease area. So depending upon the final layout, it'll be give or take about 17 to 19 acres.
Okay, you're familiar with a solar farm over on Northern Boulevard?
I personally have not seen that one. No.
It sits on about 25 acres.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
think that in that particular case, they do use batteries,
Mhm.
for storage.
Okay.
Fences we talked about. Were you planning any landscaping in and around the fencing area and the borders?
We've actually prepared some visual impact studies for the board. So pending the board's review of that, we could look at additional screening. But Steve, do you want to help present this part of it? Yeah.
We looked at the visual impact from a number of different locations along Mud Mill Road and from the interstate. What we found here was that the view that would be available at Mud Mill Road was from about 3 different locations. And in the drawings, it's just location A, B, and D. And from that, what we did is we set up a target that would be similar in height to the arrays. And from that, we developed these projections of what you might see from the roadways. So this is what you would see here, this image D. Image D shows the poles, and this is the poles that Dave talked about, the utility poles that are required for the interconnection. These other 2 locations, A and B, from Mud Mill looking to the east, to the west, and you might see images that look like this here. Here we've superimposed in what the array might look like. If there was an interest in doing some screening, there could be an attempt to take and do some landscaping out front in order to soften the view of that array in the background.
Okay, thank you. And subject of reclaiming the property after 25, 30 years.
Yeah, there's a decommissioning plan that was included with the submittal, and that talks about how the property is basically an attempt to bring it back to the condition that it's in today. So the soil that is removed is limited to soil that's related to primarily the road construction and to the detention basins, stormwater detention basins. That soil gets stockpiled on the property and it's maintained during the life of the array. At the time that the project becomes ready to be closed out, the road would be boxed out again, this time in an attempt to remove the material that was used to construct the road. That would be hauled off site. The material that was stockpiled on site would be used to replace that void area. So the attempt is to maintain the existing soils that are on site in order to allow them to go back in. And hopefully we are preserving the agricultural capacity of the parcel.
Okay, and reseeding or whatever needs doing to
Yes, these are.
replace what was there.
Yeah, yes, it would be seeded after the decommissioning plan calls for that. And we seed those stockpile areas immediately upon creating them in order to prevent them from eroding over time.
And has there been any discussion on bonding or to guarantee reclamation?
Yes, we believe, we understand that to be a town requirement. And we are prepared to do that.
All right, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Mr. Snyder?
So you do have a copy of the law that our town board put together relative to the decommissioning process?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, that's why we have our lawyer here. They'll be looking at that real close. We've been involved in a couple of these, so I don't have any real questions relative to the how we do the system, but the one thing I looked at, you show, I believe, a gate, but the gate is not at the mud mill entrance. It's a ways into the facility, if I remember.
Yeah, correct. Right here.
Yeah, I think that's kind of crazy. I think I would, bringing in one truck length from Mud Mill, but then put your gate there. Because otherwise, I know the kids today are not like the kids when I was a kid, but I don't think you want to let people drive any more into your site than you absolutely need to. So I would look at that. That doesn't mean the fence has to be out to that point, but at least if there was a bar type gate that would keep people from driving in that road, I think that would be helpful.
Okay. We do have to allow 24/7 access by the utility to these poles here. So we would have to put any restricted access on the far side, on our side of those poles.
Really?
Yes.
They don't have a common key that,
They don't want to go through that hassle. No.
oh,
Yeah. So that we have to meet certain requirements from the utility. This has to be 20 feet in width here.
okay.
But to your point, we can take a look at the location of that gate, and maybe we put it on the east side of this swale.
And there's a requirement for the first, 40 feet or so being asphalt on the entrance road
For the curb cut.
from the curb cut in 40 feet, so you don't track mud and stuff out.
Okay. Yeah, well, we would work with your highway department to get curb cut approval.
Our engineer, I'm sure, will point that out.
Okay.
Yep. Done for now.
Mrs. Hogan.
Yeah, so I had put more trees by these poles. I'm a big fan of native trees. But the fence height you had said what the fence.
Yeah,
height
so
was,
it's
7.
7 feet, but the height is 7.5 because we leave a 6-inch gap on the bottom for wildlife.
Oh, okay. And these are, I'm not familiar, but it's safe for wildlife to be in and around these?
Yes.
Solar, okay. And then in terms of safety with the fence and appearance, do we know what that's gonna look like, or?
Yeah, there should be a spec in our submission on the fence, but we call it an ag fence, so it's it has square 6-inch gaps in the fencing, and it has wooden posts, so it's kind of more consistent with the agricultural nature of the landscape,
Okay,
as opposed to a chain link fence, which it looks more industrial.
okay,
Is it climbable?
that's, yeah.
Um,
my concern.
There's no top rail on it, so that does discourage it's climbable, someone could. But it's as secure as a chain link fence in that regard.
it meets the electrical code requirements, and we think it's beneficial to the community as opposed to a chain link fence. Sorry, what's that? Yes.
Okay. And will there be, I'm assuming, safety signs in terms of like what's on the other side and to not climb, or?
The town code actually calls for minimizing signage. And so we would put up all the placards required by National Electric Code,
Yeah.
and we would leave it at that. But it would be controlled access, and then there would be signage with emergency contact information.
Okay. And so essentially, I know that you had done the visibility. This is really, the one with the poles is really all you can see. You're not actually going to be able to see any of your panels or the fencing or anything from the road? Are they all covered by trees?
Some of it you can.
No, there is some visibility, and I think that's.
It's a little hard to see because
Yeah.
we're simulating from the road.
Right.
So
Is it in this, is it in this photo section?
I believe it is, yeah. I believe this image, and then you can see in the background here.
Is it this one? The next one?
Same here.
Yeah. Okay.
So we took photographs and
Mm-hmm.
You do set back a little ways though, right? From the road.
we are set back because we're on the far side of the swale, and then we're also assuming 100-foot buffer from that swale. So we're hundreds of feet from the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see it now. All the panels that you can still see from the road. Okay. I guess I would like to see more, like just an increase in amount of landscaping and stuff to try and limit how much you can see from the road.
Break it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
If it's acceptable, we would probably place them along the eastern side of the swale. There is existing vegetation and trees in there, and that would look the most natural, I think, as a buffer.
okay.
Because the farmer plans on,
That much at all, and even right now, especially when there's vegetation around, like, you know, not very much. I live across the street.
Can you approach, please, and grab the mic?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
We're being recorded and people are
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
home.
Even right now, you can't really see very much back there. I live at the residence that would be the most likely to see, you know, as much as you possibly could see. And even my angle, there's not very much. There's so much vegetation along that creek area already, and that especially, you know, when it gets into later spring and summer, it's so thick that it's almost, I mean, coming from the road, unless you're looking for it out there, you're not going to see a whole lot.
You're in the structure right in the middle.
That's my dad's house. I'm up the road a little ways across the street. So I mean, I'd have the most unobstructed view, and it's really not a whole lot that I can see past that creek and pond as it is. So
Okay. And are there any vehicles that are going to be on site like consistently, or is it just the ones who will be coming and accessing the poles like you mentioned?
so throughout the lifetime of the array, we would be conducting operations and maintenance procedures. And so there would be a pickup truck accessing the site just to do routine checks on the equipment, but
Okay.
nothing more than that during the operational life.
That's it for me.
Thank you.
So I would agree that I would want to see some plannings to break up visibility where you can see it from the road.
Okay.
Some of that. 4.2 megawatt, how many households would that be able to serve?
It ends up being, I think about 600 or so. I'm trying to do the math in my head right now, but
Just roughly.
yeah, about 600,
And so,
600 to 800 homes. Yeah.
and so you have a company that works with you in approaching homeowners to get them to sign up for the program,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
What kind of savings do they see?
It's going to be probably between 10 and 15%. So if you look at, you know, your annual electricity costs as a homeowner, it would offset about 1 month's worth of bills.
So is their price based on National Grid's price with a reduction, or is it a fixed rate? How does that work?
Yeah, we just look at it as competing with the utility company and producing clean energy at the same time.
Are there state and federal tax incentives for the program?
There are state incentives and there's a federal tax credit.
Not that any of that has to do with planning. I'm just curious.
Yep.
I think that's all I had. Steve?
Are there going to be any storage containers for maintenance parts and stuff like that and stored on site?
No, there would be no long-term storage containers on site.
The setbacks that you show here, you say setback per zoning district, but I mean, the arrays at least 100 feet from the property boundary in that northwest. where it's most
Northwest,
close?
yes.
Yeah, so it's 100 feet.
Yeah, because the wetlands are in here and we're offset
I saw
100 feet
that.
from the
Yeah,
wetlands.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay. And these are all going to be driven pile?
Yes.
Footings for the rate?
Yeah,
for the racks?
driven.
You
piles.
were already on soil testing? We've gone into this where they did that and then I found out later they had some soil conditioning to put concrete in.
We have not done that yet. We typically do that closer to construction.
So is there a possibility it would be concrete footings?
No, it would not be concrete. The alternative to the driven piles would be helical piles. So it basically screws that are just screwed into the ground based on the subsurface conditions. But either way, it's minimizing disturbance to the soils. So actually, Army Corps of Engineers, when you drive piles in an Army Corps wetland, they don't consider that to be disturbance.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Point out that the town spent a lot of time and effort codifying, adding to the code to specifically address some of the issues that come up with it. So, I know you looked at it and also you continue to look at that and make sure that you comply with that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mark.
No, nothing at this time. I'll do a complete review of the package and get comments if needed to the applicant.
Thank you. Anything else from you?
I just wanted to better understand the town's process. So I know we come before you and then we have to go to the town board, I think, for
So
special.
we do site plan.
Mhm.
Once that's done, you go in front of the town board for special use permit.
So we would
It's a
stay
tier
with you.
3, right?
Pardon me?
It's a tier 3.
It's a tier 3. Yep.
So would we stay with you until you determine site plan approval? And then we go to the town board? Okay. And then that would be special use permit. And then do we come back to the town board, planning board after that or no?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Just a curious thing, you said 13.2, so you actually, what's the voltage that they, that you make? And what are you going from to get to 13.2?
Yeah, so the panels are low voltage and then we step up in combiner boxes and then from there, we actually go to the inverters and then combiner boxes. So we're combining the AC and then eventually a 13.2.
So what are we at the,
Like at
At
the,
the
at the
converters.
module level?
yeah,
or-
at the rectifiers where we're changing voltage? What are we starting at?
Usually it's gonna be 600 volts, 1500 volts in that range, depending on the inverter technology. Yeah.
Wow,
So 1.5 kV, I would say.
big step up.
Yep.
All right, we're good. You're good.
Great. So would you expect us here at your next meeting?
I'm gonna guess that,
You've got
it'll
to
probably be a
provide-
week or so at least till I get comments to them. I doubt they'd be able to turn anything around prior to the next meeting, so it's
They've
likely.
got to provide landscaping, right?
Yeah, I think they've heard that, so they can start working on a landscaping plan prior to getting my comments, but if there's anything else, so I would guess. it'd
Probably-
be
probably
back
not
in
the next
2 meetings, yeah.
Okay.
So a month, we hold meetings every 2 weeks, so.
Oh, right. Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
He'll even give you a card.
So that concludes our agenda. I did have some conversation with Mark. Mark brought up, I was actually thinking about it, and Neil about the draft agenda, and there's been some items on there that have been kind of lingering around. And so I thought we'd have a discussion here and, if we want to send notices out or some of them we've done already, right? Like the,
Past, we've contacted the applicant,
but Pepsi, we've already done that.
yeah. And so it may be time to send them a written notice and say, yeah, you appear, provide new information, or we're gonna consider the site plan abandoned.
I agree. You want me to go through the list? We got Speed Pro Imaging, that's Pepsi. It's been around for a long time, so they should definitely get that letter, I would think.
Yep.
Who
I
is
last
that?
communicated with them. They indicated we're gonna get,
Wanted to make the Pepsi can picture.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, when I communicated with them last, they said they intended to come forward with more information and they
That was
just
probably a
haven't.
year ago.
Right, exactly. Well, it's almost for sure, yeah.
I think they may be coming forward.
They're
with
gonna
a
come for
project
something else.
too, So
Yeah.
might as well.
Yeah.
Are they?
get that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
had an engineer contact me with
Yeah.
some general questions.
We
about
just gotta make
stormwater
sure
and that
that
type of
the
stuff.
chairman has a good day that day that they present that, that's all.
That doesn't happen. So you want to hold off on that one?
No, I would recommend that it
Okay.
be taken off the agenda, and then if they want to address signage when they're coming in with the current site plan, because I mean, I don't know, it's good, it has to be a year at least since they.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll send them a letter. We want to send them a letter, right?
Yeah, I think we sent them a letter and told them we couldn't consider it abandoned. The danger with things kicking around for so long is the conditions change. You know,
Yeah, this has been around a long time. So Luigi Canada Warehouse,
Yeah, I've talked to them recently. They're preparing. I would still send, because I indicated you're gonna receive something already, but you're gonna have to get something in here pretty soon. So
so look at the
Yeah.
letter. Walmart,
haven't heard a thing from them. Yep.
I know they were on the last list and they said, no, we want to come back.
Right.
So let's give them a letter. Canelli subdivision,
I'm pretty sure that they're abandoning that.
That-
So
that's my understanding
Yeah.
too, because I think they've come up with a sewer plan.
Right.
And it's not accommodating the subdivision.
anyway, right. I think they're just gonna leave it as one
water for
parcel.
them.
That's the little places in Brewerton.
Those were the lots on Bartel Road
Four lot subdivision.
east of 81 near the Pachote, kind of across from at the lakes and through there.
Next one is Montroy Development Zone Change,
Haven't heard anything.
letter,
Yep.
premium pools.
They're preparing information to come in.
These next few aren't as old. Benderson's been around for a bit. Anything from them?
You know, I'd send them something. I think they probably changed their mind on that.
And La Judas Doggy Daycare, that wasn't a whole lot. I mean,
That's pretty new, I would know, but it might be, I don't know, it might be worth contacting them, see if they're still pursuing.
Yeah, we've sent them a letter. We haven't heard back, so.
you did send them a letter?
Relative to their fees.
Oh. Send them a letter.
Yeah.
Any questions on that? Anything else from the team? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
A second? Second.